Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome everyone to the May 23rd business meeting of the Grosse Ile Township Board of Trustees. Let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have the full board in attendance tonight. We'll proceed with business as on the agenda. And at this time, I'd like to request additions, deletions to the agenda. That I have one agenda item I would like to add. Get it from myself. And this would be action item number 3. I'd like to add the authorization for the township attorney to pursue recovery of the splash park deposit. Okay, moved by Supervisor, seconded by Trustee Smith. Any discussion among the board? This was the topic of our closed session previous to tonight's meeting. Any further comment on this before we vote? With none, those in favor of adding the action item number 3, authorization for township attorney to pursue recovery of splash park deposit to tonight's agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered. We'll add that. Any other additions, deletions to tonight's agenda? Okay, with none offered, those in favor of approving tonight's agenda as amended, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Opposed? None offered. The agenda stands amended. Let's see. At this time, I'll open to public comment. Okay, with none offered, let's step to tonight's consent agenda. Mr. Treasurer.
I'd like to make a motion to approve consent agenda 16-018, which would include the minutes of the May 9th, 2016 regular meeting, check register dated through May 20th, 2016, and approval to process disbursed payments through June 13th, 2016, due to the board meeting schedule, and that would be any checks of a time-sensitive nature.
Support.
Okay, moved by Treasurer Ganas, seconded by Trustee Budney. Questions, comments among the board? Offered. Those in favor of approving the consent agenda as published, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered. With that, let's move on to tonight's action items. And I think it's going to be a Mr. Budney show again.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. First item is a motion to approve Suez Water Environmental Services, Inc. proposal for procurement and installation of fixed generators located at 5 sanitary lift stations in the amount of $117,502 based upon the recommendation of the DPS Commission and the Charles E. Raines Company.
Support.
Okay, moved by Trustee Budney, seconded by Trustee Smith.
And I will ask Joe to step to the microphone a little. But the history is these are the lift stations. When the electricity goes out, the lift stations stop. We've been talking at the DPS level for a couple of years now about putting generators in. The way it works right now, we have a portable generator. So they can go to one lift station, run that, then take it to the next lift station. What we want to do is get generators in at each station so those lift operations work all the time. And obviously during the storm is when you want them working. Joe, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, it would increase reliability, and the nature of these power outages tends to be storms. And we usually get caught. We're trying to run with generators and there's a logical order that we have to do them because lift stations are downstream of other lift stations, so you have to pump one, go to the next, then come back and pump again, and then head out to Hickory or Swan to pump those down. But at the same time, we're usually having issues at plant too. So the guys are running around. It's very difficult, and usually this happens all night. It's rare that it happens during the day shift. And it just, stretches the guys out, and we end up being tired and more prone to making errors of judgment, so on and so forth. But it would increase reliability. The biggest thing is it's going to increase reliability.
This was in the DPS budget. It was budgeted for $120,000. This proposal is $117,000, so it's under what we had budgeted for it. We have 2 lift stations located on Elba, 2 on East River, and 1 on Swan. As I say, the DPS Commission certainly feels that this is the way to go. Joe, if you would just tell them what the generators are and how they'd be installed.
Okay. These are natural gas generators versus, right now we have diesel. The portable ones are diesel. Natural gas generators, the fuel doesn't go bad. Some of you have them at your house. These are going to be a little more heavy duty, of course, tamper proof. But they'll go in on pads right next to the station. Once we get approval, then the engineer will go out and check the easements and where we would actually place the generators themselves.
Mr. Treasurer.
How many of these portables you tow around now?
3.
What is your plan with the 3 generators that you won't need?
I would recommend that the township probably keep at least one of them. And another one is a dual use to power the DPS building. So you probably want to keep that one too. And then there's a small one that would be surplus. You could sell it. I mean, it's only doesn't even have 200 hours on it, so it has.
There is some value to it.
There is some value to it. It's only, well, probably 10 or 12, not even that, 10 years old. But it's like brand new. It has a lot of value to it.
Would that generator be adequate to supply power to the township hall?
Probably only at a bare minimum. It's only 20 kilowatt.
How about one of the bigger ones?
The biggest one is 35 kilowatt, and that was the one designated to do the DPS building. You probably have to consult with an electrician or an electrical engineer, because the other third one is a 30 kilowatt. And that may power communication systems and some lighting. I just doubt it would do the entire heat, HVAC here.
Well, I'm sure one with the HVAC might do the heat. But.
Yeah. But again, that's something you look at. They would have alternative.
And why would it be more critical to keep the DPS building up rather than Township Hall?
At one time, when we bought that, wasn't it? That was emergency operations for the township back in at that time. It was like 2001 when we bought that one.
But it's no longer that.
I'm guessing not, but it is set. Right, no, but the generator itself is fitted with a plug to plug in to that building.
Plugs are cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That can be.
Well, we might want to look at that before we make any decisions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Other questions?
Yes,
Clerk?
I live with standby generators where I work, and I'm pleased to hear you're going natural gas. We have gone with diesel, and they are problematic. My question to you is, there is still maintenance required and periodic testing of these devices. Noticed in the contract that there wasn't a maintenance agreement attached to it.
No,
I have an idea of what a maintenance agreement will cost.
For those generators, they're kind of small. Currently, we have a maintenance contract for the 2 big ones at the plant, the 300 kilowatt and the 500 kilowatt, and that pays $1,700 and change a year for the maintenance contract.
For the 2 of them together?
For the 2 big ones, yeah.
So you don't anticipate that these 5 would be approaching that, huh?
I wouldn't think they would be that expensive because they're much smaller generators.
They still get oil changes and gas runs and things.
Yes.
I'd be curious to know that figure.
I can certainly check it out. It would come out of the maintenance cap.
I don't think that that's a go or no go question on my part. I'm just curious.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't gotten that far yet,
We have.
So
They're quieter too, by the way. A lot quieter.
depends on the size. Well, actually, it is. The
Side by
500 kilowatt is quieter than the 300, which is diesel at the plant. So, yes.
If I put in a household generator like that, it automatically cycles as a test run periodically on a monthly basis. I'm assuming these are going to have the same.
Yes.
So that the other maintenance is either there's some sort of failure or
preventive
hours you
maintenance,
gotta-
like change the oil. Yeah, filter change.
And they're going to be secured to a pad. Are they going to be fenced in and protected, or is it just going to be an open
They'll be
pad?
locked cabinets, little locked cabinets.
Other questions for Mr. Keefe? All right, with none offered, those in favor of approving the Suez Water Environmental Services proposal for procurement and installation of the fixed generators located at 5 sanitary lift stations in the amount of $117,502, based on the recommendation of the DPS Commission and the Charles E. Rain Company, or Township Engineers. Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered. That will carry. Mr. Budney.
The next motion. Motion to approve the annual CPI adjustment of 1.7% effective April 1st, 2016 for Suez Environmental for contract services at the wastewater treatment plant based upon the recommendations of the DPS Commission.
Support.
A motion by Trustee Budney and seconded by Trustee Smith.
And what this is that there's an annual adjustment as part of the contract, and that's all that this is approving what the contract calls for. And this year, the adjustment will be 1.7%.
Other questions? Oh. I did read the supplemental data. It took me a while to the ECI. I wasn't familiar.
Well,
but the way you witnesses the employment.
Right. Under the contract that we approved, the adjustment, which used to be the CPI only, it was broken down into two, 76% ECI and 24% for the CPI. And I know when we negotiated that contract, I went back for 10 years and did it under the new formula, and if we would have had that formula, we actually would have paid less under that formula than what we had paid, which worked out like 2% a year. Although it's a little more complex than what we had before, it certainly isn't. Number one, the formula itself makes sense as to why they did that, why they wanted that, but it also does not something that would necessarily harm us, and proof is right here where it's 1.7.
Mr. Treasurer, do you have a...
How long is the contract? When does it expire?
5 years.
From now?
No, last year we approved it.
Or less?
Yeah.
Questions, comments? Okay, with none offered, those in favor of approving the annual CPI adjustment, actually it's beyond CPI, but adjustment of 1.7% effective April 1st, 2016 for Suez Environmental for contract services at the wastewater treatment plant, based on the recommendation of the DPS Commission, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered. That will carry, and we'll get another 4 years out of you anyway. Okay, the added action item. Motion is to authorize the Township Attorney to pursue recovery of the deposit on the Splash Park project from Vortex Incorporated through settlement negotiations as directed in closed session. If unsuccessful, he is authorized to file suit.
Support.
Okay, moved by the supervisor, seconded by Trustee Posiask. We go back. We're still trying to get this resolved, and just the rough history. At the 20 September board meeting, the Township Board of Trustees voted to cancel the previously approved Splash Park project that was to be installed at Water's Edge Pool Complex. Per the contract, a deposit of $125,061.61 was paid to Vortex Incorporated. The Township Board is of the opinion that a majority of that deposit should be refunded, and feels that a negotiated settlement, subject to board approval, would be in the best interest of the Township. Should that fail, we will pursue litigation. Further questions or comments? That was our closed session prior to tonight's meeting, so there's maybe limited what we can contribute question-wise, but we're trying to resolve this. Nothing offered. Those in favor of authorizing the township attorney, as I previously read, to pursue recovery of the deposit of the Splash Park project from Vortex Incorporated through settlement negotiations as directed in closed sessions, and if successful, he is authorized to file suit. Please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Oh,
Nay.
I'm sorry, nay? We have Mrs. Smith opposed. With that, that concludes tonight's action items. Move on to the clerk's report.
Mr. Supervisor, we do have two more elections this season, August 2nd and November 8th. Absentee ballot applications for both the August and November elections will be in a combined application, and permanent absentee voters should expect to receive their applications by mail during the second week of June. Voter registration deadline for the August 2nd state and local primary is July the 5th, and the deadline to file to run as a candidate for the local school board in November is July 26th. And that's all I have for the clerk report.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Treasurer.
Thank you. For the month of May, Township had a total of $11,725,639 invested in various accounts. These accounts generated a total revenue of $3,950 with an average of 0.44%. We are currently looking at other banking avenues to see if we can improve that number. It should start to go up by itself, but we have a lot of idle funds sitting out there, so we're looking at some other options. The current breakdown of these investment accounts are always available on the Treasurer's website at gross.com. The Treasurer's Office is starting to receive tax bill requests from lending institutions for the upcoming 2016 summer tax bills. It has always been our policy to send duplicate tax bills out to the mortgage companies, and the original tax bills are mailed to the property owner's address on record. And we will continue that process. Again, dog park passes and licenses are available through my office. Looks like they're moving. Progress is pretty good on the airport runway. I think we're getting close to paving. Within a couple of weeks, if you want to give me just a little update on that.
Yes, thank you. Just a brief update on our runway project. We are in process of removing the last of the existing pavements. The contractor has also started hauling some stone on site to start building up our base. So we are getting closer. We've also started running our new home run electrical that's coming out of our electrical vault behind you here and going all the way over to our primary runway that we're doing. So you'll see them trenching through the fields quite a bit. They are doing some transactional boring. So right now, as it sits, obviously weather pending, we are ahead of schedule for the project, and we're hoping it stays that way, but everything else is on track.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. I have nothing else to say.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. We'll move on to trustee reports. We'll start, Mr. Bundy.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. We had our DPS meeting previously this month, and as usual, there's always something in the mix, and we're looking into some drainage issues on Manchester right now. We do have a ZBA meeting, first one in a long time, so we'll all have to be reintroduced to each other. There's only one appeal, so get there early, get your seat. And the only other thing I want to say, I know we'll probably be hearing a lot about Island Fest, and hats off to Mrs. Smith and her group. They did a wonderful job. But I want to give kudos to the Groseal Soccer Association. They had their Island Cup, second annual Island Cup soccer tournament this weekend also. They had over 100 teams come to it. very orderly. They really had it laid out well. Did a really nice job. The crowd was. I spent a lot of time there because I have a grandson who was playing, but so I spent a number of days there. But they just did a wonderful job, and it seemed to go really well, meshing with the Island Fest. So hats off to you, and I'll let everybody else say their thank yous to you for the Island Fest, Mrs. Smith. That's it.
Thank you, everybody. Let's see, Ms. Malvesto.
Really nothing to report this evening. There will be a CRC meeting on the 28th at 7:30. Please attend. Lauren, your group did a great job. Thank you. I know there's a lot of hard work goes into putting on an event like that, and I hope everyone enjoyed it. So, not much going on with the police or the fire department right now. So I'll turn over back to you, Mr. Supervisor.
Thank you, Mr. Malvesto. Mr. Posiask.
As usual, I'm not at a loss for information. BPAC and Greenways Open Space both had successful efforts at Island Fest. It was very, very nice to have booths set up, and both of the groups have told me about a lot of good input about open space as well as bike paths during that period. And, number one, I want to express my personal thanks and pride. I have two great groups. These two groups and their volunteers were just rabid volunteers to take care of this presentation over the weekend, and they deserve well done. Brandy deserves a well done. She looked like one tired little cowboy yesterday when I saw her, but she worked her heart out. Lots of things going on in the township, especially regarding bike paths and Greenways Open Space. Bike Path has been putting out a monthly bicycle ride called the Lazy Ride. It's catching on like crazy. The next one is May 28th, which is this Saturday. And if you like to ride a bike slow, this is the ride for you. You're going to go 8 or 9 miles. You're going to have a great time with a bunch of nice people. And there's no racing. There's nothing other than having a good time. You just, come to the park, come to Lions Park, bring yourself some drinking water, perhaps a snack, meet some folks who like biking just like you. So Lazy Ride posters are around. Starts Saturday at 10 a.m. on every fourth Saturday of the month. So the 28th at 10 o'clock, you should be there. Greenways Open Space will have their next meeting on the getting sign language out in the audience. Still can't hear you. Lions Park is on Macomb Street, just past Island Drive, around the animal shelter, not the animal shelter, the animal hospital.
Lions and Macomb Street.
Yeah, okay, Lions. It's an undeveloped yet park, a future park. We have a BPAC meeting on the 21st of June, and at that meeting we'll be talking about how we're going to take care of the maintenance needs on the bike paths for the rest of this year, and we're going to have some discussion about mileage. So if you're interested in talking, come on down. We'd appreciate your input. We intend to have a steak roast sometime in July to continue to raise funds for my favorite project in rec, the all-season rink. On the 20th of August, everything happens in this island. We're going to walk the path again, which is the third year, and free lemonade and hot dogs for all who wish. And how these artists are now cutting duets. Barry Van Engelen and I are cutting one. And we're going to sing together, We All Live in a Yellow Submarine. So you might want to get your advance orders in now. Barradur is coming through again. Barradur at Wayne State has publicly announced that their favorite stop on their 100-mile run was Grosse Ile. Isn't that nice? We do things right here. And so come down and listen to the horrible singing and the great guitar music and have a free hot dog and lemonade and spend some money at the garage sales. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Posiak. Let's see, let's move along. Mr. Sorty?
Hey. Hey.
Whoa. The one I've been waiting for. I'm Miss Smith.
Apparently not.
You're in the unlucky Peter can't see, huh? Mrs. Smith.
I'm just going to sit over here. Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Only 375 more days till the next Island Fest. And next year it will be June 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And the good news is we did find out today that the GISA Island Fest Cup will also coincide next year. So I think it's a win-win all the way around. I appreciate your thanks, everybody, but I cannot take credit for really any of this unless you consider slinging wristbands, and I'm probably the fastest wristbander out there. But in all honesty, without Chad, this probably wouldn't have happened. He's one of those dedicated, passionate, hardworking guys. He stays until the bitter end to make sure everything's done, and he has a very high level of attainment. Also like to thank Brandy and the Recreation Department. Also the Island Fest commissioners, obviously, because they were there all the time working their butts off. The Recreation Department staff, inclusive of Annette, Gail, James, Wally, Mitchell, and Charlie. The DPW staff, John, Jerry, and George. I know it's never easy picking up after people and setting up all that stuff. Dr. Morris for helping with the sponsors. Bob Armstrong helping organize the parade. The Rowing Club for being the cleanup crew each morning, and all the volunteers who actually help set up, break down, and clean up ID information booth, etc. As well as Ted, I can't forget Ted and his crew. They did a nice job posting things to Facebook and getting out there with the parade. But the commission will be meeting at a future date. We usually take a month off to kind of reprieve and collect our thoughts, but we will be going over the good and the bad, and we will be reviewing things for changes for 2017. And at that point, we'll come back. I'll probably have Chad come out along with Ann Darsnick and do a full recap of the financials and how things went. So, but appreciate the support and the community and everything. So. Thank you.
Okay, I need to throw one comment in there. I know Chad worked
hours.
He worked like a pack animal, but he worked because he knew he had your support. You made things happen at this end, and he made things happen at that end. So whether you knew you were a team or not, you got it done. It was just a gas. It was a great time. Okay, with that, thank you, Mrs. Smith, and thanks for a great Island Fest. With that, now, Mr. Assorti.
Good evening. I just want to give you a quick update on the Rio Road Apartments. There is a status conference scheduled in front of the judge Wednesday morning. At this point, our hope is that with what we figure out by tomorrow, that we won't even have to attend. It looks like there's a purchase agreement that's in place. I still need some detail on the specifics, but hopefully we'll have those buildings done by the end of the year with a court order, with everything to the township at no cost to the township, so that it's resolved. And we'll have a new owner there that's interested in developing the property and moving it forward. Questions? Okay, thanks.
Finally, maybe. Mr. Iam.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I'd like to report a few brief items. Number one, it is official. Smokies on the Water at Water's Edge is open. They have a soft opening, which means they have a limited menu. It's not their full-blown menu, and they're going to work into that. So I had dinner there tonight, as a matter of fact. It was very good. Stop by and see the place. We have information posted on Grosville Connect on our app. And Ted Fournier and Supervisor Loftus will be talking about that a little bit later. And I wanted to inform the community the Township Hall will be closed for Memorial Day on Monday, May 30th. And a thank you note needs to go out for the Memorial Garden here behind Township Hall to Art and Claire Kester, who had endless hours and all their volunteer efforts and getting the garden started and helping take care of it. As you know, they've did that under the umbrella of Grosio Kiwanis. Well, Grosio Kiwanis as a club has been working on taking care of the facility. And special thank you to Jerry Page and Barry Jensen. However, due to their schedules and the actual membership commitments, Grosio Kiwanis will no longer be taking care of the garden. But nevertheless, we owe them a tremendous amount of thank you and gratitude. So I wanted to publicly recognize them. And if there's anyone that would like to volunteer, if there are other community groups or want to, in essence, sponsor the garden, see myself or Mr. Duker, would gladly. And last but not least, Woody, legal bills for O'Reilly and Cilio, $3,509. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jim. All right, for some cleanup odds and ends from me, I have one final comment, or at least it won't be a final, but my comment on Island Fest. I want to put a shout out to Jackie Snow Davies, who organized, planned the classic car show. It was the best I've seen there, and I get invited to judge one car for the Supervisor's Award. My criteria is the car I most likely would have stolen 50 years ago, and gosh, that made it 1966. So, or would have looked away had somebody else, not necessarily me, of course. But Jackie worked very hard to set it up, did it all on her own. We had probably 60 or 70 automobiles, muscle cars, hot rods, classics, antiques. Of course, having spectacular weather certainly helped, but it was really a great car show, and a lot of new motorheads were showing up because they wanted to be a part of it, so hopefully be even better next year. Nuts and bolts. Township offices will be closed Monday, May 30th in honor of Memorial Day holiday, so it'll be open again on Tuesday morning. Island Roadrunners hosting their annual Memorial Day run on Monday, May 30th. It starts at about 8:30 in the morning, and it'll run through noon-ish. So look for runners. Be careful. Give them the courtesy that we always do for visitors on the island and runners. And we'll have stuff posted on that. Okay, cleaning up the island, hazardous waste. One more reminder. Saturday, June 18th, at the Henry Ford Community College on Evergreen Road. If it's explosive, they don't want it, but they take almost anything else. A lot of stuff that we couldn't take at Dump the Junk. So if you have something left over, that's a good place to take it, unless you have tires. But on the same day, June 18th from 8 to 4, residents, 10 tires per resident, no commercial drop-offs, free scrap tire collection event. That's Riverview, City of Riverview DPS at 18550 Krause, June 18th from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. So it's as we finish up our spring cleanup, we got a couple places to get rid of the stuff that can otherwise be hard to get rid of. Riverview is also old computers, no television, but computers, all the associated stuff, and that's at 20860 Grange in Riverview. So there's something else we can get rid of, clean the place up. If you want to sell it, the garage sale, island-wide, Friday and Saturday, August 19th and 20th from 9 a.m. to 4. See Carol for more information on that. What I think is a great announcement is the Gibraltar Bay unit of the International Wildlife Refuge is now going to be open. This is something we've wanted, was increasing the access to our portion of the International Wildlife Refuge. Okay, its address, you know where it is. It's down on the South East River Road before you get to Meso Island. But anyway, 28830 East River Road in Grosio, a 41-acre refuge tract. It's really neat back there, and it's now going to be open. It's open now. Gibraltar Bay unit will be open from dawn till dusk, 365 days a year. It's be hosted, guided, guarded by the Grosio Nature and Land Conservancy, and there'll be open house events from time to time throughout the summer. So here's your opportunity to really see. And what I'm really proud of is that this was a former military site. It was a Nike site. It's been remediated, it's been returned to nature, and now it's our asset. So it's a good opportunity to just take a look at it. It's nice and quiet, and it's real close by. Okay, Wednesday afternoon, me and some of my closest friends, Wayne County Executive Warren Evans, about half of his staff, local mayors and township supervisors met over at Elizabeth Park on a municipal funding seminar. I learned two things. First, even some of the most experienced people don't fully understand assessment, property tax collection, how the numbers go up, numbers go down, don't understand the distinction between the Headley Amendment and Proposal A of 1994. They're similar, but essentially Proposal A pretty much made the Headley almost irrelevant. Looking for ways to increase municipal funding, and you'll see or have seen the continuous drumbeat. We're going to lose police. We've laid off 1 million police officers. We're not going to have fire protection. Infrastructure is crumbling. And I've brought this up before. I'm finding it a little tedious when a little general law township in a corner of Wayne County pays for its own infrastructure, pays for its own police and fire, our whole public safety. Internally, we haven't asked, we'll get grants if they're available, but we're making it happen through the taxes we collect from you, the residents. I feel we're spending it wisely, and we'll continue to stay out of this and not have to cry poor and beg for help. We're fixing our own stuff, and again, we're funding it locally. I think we're doing a darn good job. Also, take a moment to look at our public safety team, because those are the first hostages that any community holds up. We're going to cut the police, we're cutting the fire, and you people are on your own. And we've maintained our staffing in the police department. Our firefighters are second to none. They work as a team. They don't bicker with each other over funding, and we're just blessed. I mean, when I'm at these things, I feel blessed to have the public safety team we have, and have residents have a DPS that stays ahead on infrastructure, have a community that is willing to support this. So that made my afternoon not all that uncomfortable. So anyway, makes my job easier. Thanks. I'm just real proud of Grosse Ile, how we stood up compared to many of these other communities in Wayne County. The elephant in the room remains Michigan, and none of these economist speakers address this, that Michigan was the only state to lose population between the 2000 census and the 2010 census. That had a heck of an impact on the funding that's available. Wayne County continues to lose residents. 40 of the 43 communities in Wayne County have lost residents since the 2010 census. When people want to come into Wayne County, when people want to come into these communities, property values rise. It's just a simple supply and demand. The demand is not there. It may be improving, but the numbers aren't reflecting that. So we keep our community in the front, keep it looking good, welcoming guests. Hopefully we can keep our property values up and keep paying for public safety and infrastructure. Anyway, it was an interesting afternoon. And with that, let's get Mr. Fournier out and make the big drawing. No, I'm not getting anywhere near this.
I promised everybody on Saturday and Sunday that you would pull it. So,
all right.
Before we announce the names, a couple positive things. Lauren and the Island Pets Group. I got a lot of comments on different things, but the parade, absolutely magnificent. It was the best run parade and organized parade and spaced out parade that we've ever covered, and my crew was really impressed, and they wanted me to tell everybody how great it was. A lot of great compliments on the app. I tried to involve all the citizens to tell us what they liked about it, what they didn't like about it, and I invited all of them, as I do tonight. If you're using the app, become a partner with us. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. The question I asked the most was, are we using it too much or not enough? I might be biased, but you know how when a chairman hears and announces the results, the results were they'd like us to use it. They want to know what's going on. I told everybody, if we use it too much, call us up and tell us. So they want to hear the announcements. They want to hear the bridge open. They want to hear what's happening. So it's up to you guys, and I guess Dale and myself and Joey how we use it, but citizens liked it. people from other townships came up to our table and was asking us about it, so maybe we got them, other townships will use it. We went into the weekend with a little under 840 people on it, and when we started tonight, we're at 1,161, so we increased it a little over 300 people over the weekend, getting them signed up. And what we used was Smokies. we told them to sign up for a raffle for Smokies, and people were walking by. I said, it's free of charge. And that got their interest. And what's the catch? Well, you got to show us that you got the app on the phone, or that you're going to sign up for the app. And I know Dale stood there for 2-3 hours, and maybe even more. I'm not sure, on Saturday. And we got them signed up. So everybody in there has the app or signed up over the weekend. Two comments before I let you tell us the name. One, you're 100% right, Jim, about soccer. We went over and covered soccer on Sunday, and just a magnificent crowd. People from all over Troy, Livonia, all over the area, finding out where Grosse Hill was. Tremendously organized, hundreds of kids and people out there. It's a great event, and I'm glad to hear we're going to have it again. And my last announcement is a personal announcement. Having gone with the crew today to Smokies, the food is excellent, and I suggest you try the clam chowder. So with that, tell us who won.
All right. Simulated drum roll, please. Miss Lillian Altpeter.
All right, we won't give her phone number.
Nope.
She's the winner. $25 gift certificate with the best clam chowder in town.
Lillian Altpeter. I know an Altpeter.
Whoever knows her gets to go to dinner with her.
All right, well, we got that squared away. All right.
Brian?
Sir.
Can I make just one more thing?
Certainly.
I'm sorry I didn't throw it in the regular report, but Dale's report prompted me to say this. Grosse Hill Kiwanis giving a thank you letter to them is a classy idea, and I know that some of the folks that were named Citizens of the Year in past years, one of them included one of our own township board members, Pam Frucci. But this year's township board is a very close personal friend, and his name is Robert Walters. And if you're watching out there, well done, Bob. A year of service, a world of service. Thank you very much.
Well said. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Poziesk. Okay, with this, open it up to public comment. Mr. Connor.
Good evening, everybody. Uta O'Connor, 8148 Island Boulevard. I just have a quick question for Jim and maybe Lorinda. Living on Island Boulevard, impacted by the construction on East River for the water lines. First couple of outings were very tricky trying to get around the traffic. I noticed that lately they have decided to start later after the school buses have cleared, and that they're usually cleaned up before the school buses get back out. That's been a huge relief. I work in the schools. I get a lot of parents asking, and I'm just wondering if you can give us an additional update on the project, where it stands.
Well, come on up, Lorinda. The pipe has been laid, so I think that's probably a reason. The big part is done, so now it's a matter.
It's about 80% complete right now. They're busy tying in all the services. They're doing about 8 services a day. They have about 50 left to do, and after that they'll start. Well, actually, restoration has already begun. They started down at Horse Mill, and they're moving south. So all in all, it's been a pretty
and obviously they don't have to take up that much, as much of the road and that type of thing.
Right.
Yeah, it really went along pretty well. Obviously, with any project like that, there's always going to be inconvenience to people, and it's just something you can't work around it. But things went pretty well.
Yeah, and they're a little ahead of schedule. They should have substantial completion by July 15th, and they should have everything wrapped up before school starts sometime at the end of August. Another public announcement: dust control. It's scheduled for the first or second week in June, depending on the weather. So right now we're just waiting on the contractor. He's got a few ahead of us still.
Thanks, Lorinda.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Benito. Other public comment? Mr. Clark.
Dumped the junk for the, they received $339.60 for the tails, and they already got the money. You never want to get sidelined, so I'm going to ask you now, what is the total going to be the total price for the apartments for lawyer fees? You don't know now, but when you know, we'd like to know. What is your anticipation it's going to cost us for the splash park? You don't know the answer, but you're going to know it sooner or later. How much do you think it is now? You think it's going to be worth to take the money now and just walk away because the price is going to be there in the litigation, or not? One other thing, North Carolina Governor Pat McCrory, a conservative man of faith, has just signed a bill in requiring the men and women to use the restrooms designated to their biological sex. As a result, he's landed squarely in the crosshairs of the Obama administration. U.S. Attorney General Leach has just announced she is suing North Carolina in an effort to strike down the law.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Other public comment? Mr. Lemoyne.
Good evening, everybody. Steve Lemoyne, 8410 Hampton. First, again, excellent job with Island Fest. Kids always spend a lot of money, so appreciate that. You're my favorite. Second, I want to echo Trustee Budney. I think the Grosse Ile Soccer Association did a great job. Over 108 teams, 4,000 plus people is just a phenomenal event. Could be the largest event that draws people on, that many thousands of people. International, I personally refed a Canadian team, so again, kudos to them to have an international tournament. Third point, a lot of discussion tonight about volunteers. So I guess a request for consideration from Supervisor Loftus and Manager Dale Ream. I think it's important as you vet out volunteers for your committees that you extend a courtesy and encourage your staff to have a courtesy for those who may not be selected. If you want to have a strong volunteer base, you need to consider. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lemoyne. Other public comment? Hey, with none offered, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Trustee Buddy, seconded by Trustee Buziask. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None offered. We stand adjourned at 8:30. Have a nice, safe evening. And we will not have another...